What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another Real Housewives of Atlanta review. We are on episode 3, season 16. I am Charmaine, aka She Always Got Something to Say, Anzo, period. Welcome to my channel, So Effortlessly Sexy. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, y'all. Subscribe for the vibes, and go ahead and hit that like while you at it. Of course, comment down below anything you got to say, any engagement you want to add. Please do, because I talk back. Okay. We open up the episode, y'all. We are at Britt and Mike's house. I got my notes here, so you know what? I'm gonna try to stay on track. I got quite a bit of notes this episode, so we're gonna try to stay on track. But like I said, we're at Britt and Mike's house. Britt continues to remind us that she was the baddest video vixen back in the day in high school, and how she dated all the rappers, and that she's still lit. Okay, or she been lit since then. And then she said that she didn't see herself having any long-term relationships with any of them. Of course not, boo. I'm glad you ain't see that, because they ain't see that for you either. Okay, so basically she wanted to be a wife, and she just decided she gonna get a regular dude, i.e. Mike, because Mike ain't any of that, okay, that she talks about often. He's not none of that, but Mike is a cool dude. I like Mike. So yeah, so anyway, like I said, she reminded us of that, how she had, you know, rappers and stunners and all that, and stuff. So, and, she even also admitted that she dated Rick Ross. The producer asked her, you know, about her dating Rick Ross. She said, yeah. She said, yeah. I'm like, girl, who didn't, child? Please. But anyway, so Britt and Mike had her in-laws in, which were Mike's sister and her family came over for dinner. As a cute little nice little dinner they had, and they briefly, when they got to the table, they briefly talked about, you know, what all happened at Shamia's party, basically between her and Kenya or whatever. And moving right along, Mike's sister asks, how are you guys doing? So Mike was like, we doing good. He's like, but I want a baby right now, like tomorrow. And so Britt was like, I want a ceremony tomorrow. So his sister was like, well, what's the hold up? And Mike was like, we're not about to do that over the dinner. We're not about to talk about that right now. So Britt and her sister-in-law excuse themselves. They go downstairs and they go talk some more or whatever. And at that time when they were talking, Britt was just telling her sister-in-law how, you know, her dad passed away back in 2015, and he was a very successful businessman in the mortgage field. Like, he was a very successful, you know, guy or businessman, like I said, in the mortgage area or whatever the case. And unfortunately he did pass away in 2015, like I just said. And she was saying how her dad had left a $2 million life insurance policy to her mother, but unfortunately when he passed away, her mother couldn't claim it. She couldn't get any of that because he died in transitioning from one job to another, which, I mean, I don't know why that would matter, but if one of you guys could tell me, because I was really confused at that part as to, you know, like, why the man, he died. Like, why couldn't she claim the money that he left her? But anyway, so she got emotional about that, which was kind of sad to hear, because she said they were very close. You know, her dad was like, he was a great provider, you know. So she said when that happened, unfortunately, because her mother was not able to get any of the money from the life insurance, that she had to start a GoFundMe account. She, meaning Brett. She said she had to start a GoFundMe account. Because I guess they were struggling after that, or even to bury him. She didn't say they were struggling to bury him, but that's what she was kind of getting at. Like, she said they had to start a GoFundMe or whatever. And that's one of the things that motivated her to start her own insurance agency, which she then tells her sister-in-law how she started the agency, and she brought her two sisters on board, her oldest sister and her middle sister. She brought them on board, and how things didn't work out because the oldest sister basically didn't like her doing too much. Like, she said her oldest sister said she was too tough. So I guess her sister may have had a problem with her authority, because this is the baby sister, so you know how that can go sometime. But and then she said the middle sister, when Britt decided to sell her insurance agency, she said her middle sister started doing too much. She started getting too comfortable, which, again, I don't know what that means either. Like, what does that mean? Like, she got comfortable when you sold the agency, or when you were in the process of selling the agency. Like, how could she be comfortable unless it had something to do with, you know, the money? Like, her sister probably was like, you know, you offering me this, but nah. So I don't know, because she didn't elaborate further on that part. She just was like, her younger sister basically quit. She said she fired her younger sister because when she was selling the agency, her younger sister started to get too comfortable. Again, I have no idea what that even means, but whatever. So she was just saying how, you know, her sisters and herself, they're no longer close like they used to be no more, ever since that all happened, and so on and so forth. So it was a little sad, you know, a little sad, you know, but I enjoyed, you know, seeing them, well, seeing Britt talk a little bit more about herself and her past and her, you know, her whole family dynamic. So I enjoyed seeing that, watching that part. Moving right along, we go on to Portia and Kelli meeting up for drinks and links, honey. They met up. Portia, I guess, invited Kelli out to, you know, sit down, talk, eat, have a key over what all was said back when Shamia and Kelli and Britt first met up or whatever, before Shamia's party. And Kelli said what she said, or she asked what she asked, and she said what she said to Shamia about Portia taking that lady husband. So Portia kind of, you know, brought it up or whatever. I mean, I'm pretty sure that was the reason for the sit down, you know, so they could just talk it out or whatever. And Portia could hear it straight from Kelly's mouth how it went down, because Portia was telling Kelli, the message wasn't relayed back to me in that way. You know, the way you telling me how it went, that's not how it came back to me. So yeah, but anyway, they kind of, you know, hashed that out real quick. They didn't spend much time on it, which I certainly appreciated. Like, we don't need to drag this out. Y'all say what y'all gotta say and move on, and that's exactly what they did. I liked that a lot, because I love me some Kelli, y'all. I'm telling you, Kelli is the one that is going to keep me watching. She really is, like, for real. Like, I really like Kelli. I feel like she was definitely a much needed person to liven this show up, even though they have new girls. But Kelli, to me, they needed Kelli. Okay, she definitely brings a different light to the show that we all well, I'm speaking for myself, that I feel that the show needed. Even with them revamping it, they still needed somebody to, like, bring some more life to it, because outside of Kelli, it's like, to me, nobody else is really giving at all. So anyway, like I said, they sit down, they talk about that, they have a key. Then it also flash back to Kelli inviting Portia and Pilar, PJ, Portia's daughter, to her Mommy and Me event, and Portia agreed to come or whatever. So, you know, it was a cute little sit down with them too, and I'm glad, like, they were very mature about it. There was no yelling over the table, there was no and there was no storming off from the table, none of that. They definitely, I liked the way they handled each other, and yeah, that was a good little scene there. Moving right along, we go on to Drew. Drew is in studio, child, laying down her tracks on the wax, baby. She was in there singing her little heart out, her little broken heart out. And here comes Cynthia, Kenya, and Angela, you know, to join her in her studio session. So they all have a little sit down. They all start talking or whatever the case. Angela was just telling them how, you know, her and Charles, basically this was their first marriage at all. Like, and that was shocking to me, because I just knew Charles was married before, and before that too. But she said that was this is his first marriage and her first marriage or whatever. So Kenya cuts in the conversation, child. Oh wait, before that, Angela also was telling them how she basically stalked Charles back in the day, because when they lived in the same complex, she said she used to ask the concierge, basically, like, you know, did he go to so and such and such today? You know, did you see him today? Like, she basically was saying she stalked her man, honey, period. But then, like I said, Kenya cuts the conversation, and she brings it to Drew and Dennis. But Kenya was asking Drew, like, or telling Drew, you know, they out here talking about you like you some kind of whore. She said, and Dennis is still not sticking up for you. Like, why is Dennis not stepping in and sticking up for you? Drew's still claiming that Dennis is strictly business, you know. He basically not gonna get involved with that outside noise or whatever. It's strictly business between her and him, and that's all he cares about, pretty much. And, you know, she had nothing bad to say about Dennis or whatever. But Kenya was like, you know, then they talked about her not reaching out to Portia. before she started working with Dennis. So Drew was like, I did. I definitely reached out to him and reached out to Portia and XYZ. So Kenya was like, Drew, you got to stop playing the victim. Like, you definitely got to stop playing the victim, because you was dead ass wrong for not, you know, reaching out to Portia first. So Drew again said, I did. And then she whipped out her receipts. She was reading the text messages from different dates on different occasions, you know, even trying to meet up for dinner with Portia, and Portia canceled on her. So she, in my opinion, Drew did enough. Okay, she did probably more than I would have done. Okay, because first of all, that's your baby daddy, sis. Y'all not together. Y'all ain't been together. I don't care what kind of feelings you still got for him. They ain't got nothing to do with me. I do not want your baby father, please. Okay, and you was already married to somebody else. So, girl, I ain't gonna be chasing you just to tell you that I'm about to work with Dennis. Girl, bye. And I ain't gonna be chasing you to tell you that me and him gonna be filming scenes together either. I'm trying to reach you. You keep shutting me down. You keep not responding. So that's that. Like, you not getting, she gave Portia too much. She gave Portia too much. And then Portia got a nerve to sit up there on that screen and act like she ain't know nothing about this. And how it's so upsetting to her because Drew never had a conversation with her. Girl, she tried. And you knew about it. That's why you was trying to avoid her. That's my opinion. Moving right along. So Cynthia goes to tell, well, when Kenya was doing her movie and she wanted to cast my baby father, which is her ex-husband, I believe Leon is her ex-husband and her daughter's father, Cynthia's daughter's father. And she was just like, you know, Kenya reached out to her and just to let her know, hey, you know, I'm gonna, you know, want to have Leon in there. And I'm just like, okay. I mean, but it's not, I don't know, maybe I'm just different, but I just feel like, I mean, obviously, if we're close friends like that, close enough friends like that, of course, and I'm doing something like that, whether it's the music or whatever it is, a project, whatever it is I'm working on, and your ex, you know, is somebody who's very knowledgeable in what I'm working on and wants to lend his services and XYZ, and that, you know, we might be doing a little something together as far as a work. Absolutely, I would run it by my friend. I would definitely mention it. I would tell her, oh, hey, I'm talking to so-and-so, but I don't need your permission. Like, if y'all broken up, you know, this is not your man no more. Y'all ain't been each other man, and he hasn't been your man for many years now. I don't have to ask your permission, okay? But I do feel like, I know for me personally, I definitely would have mentioned it to my friend first, and just to, you know, give her a heads up or whatever, or just within conversation, you know. But at the end of the day, all what Drew was doing, trying to get Portia on the line more than one time, baby, no ma'am. You got 1 or 2 texts out of me to let you know what's going on, and to ask you to call me back. But Cynthia felt like, girl, if you really wanted to get to Portia, you would have been able to get to Portia. Like, if you really wanted her to know, you would have been able to just let her know. But I feel like I said Drew did too much if it were me. Anyway, moving right along. So then we go into where Shamia is sitting down at her home talking to her 2 sisters, which I really enjoyed this scene as well. It was a little emotional for me too. But, you know, she's talking to her sisters. She's letting us know just how supportive her 2 sisters are and were throughout this entire process, from, you know, baby Shiloh, and, you know, there's just like a huge support system for her and stuff, and how she just left her sisters down, and to see that, you know, her sisters always got her back. You know, they really did, and they love their nieces to life, okay? Love them to life. So, but Shamia was just, you know, talking to them about how she's kind of getting tired, like her body is drained, she's exhausted, and she just basically took us back to how when Shiloh, who's her youngest daughter, who's the one who has some medical conditions. And y'all, I want to correct myself, because I noticed in my last videos I keep saying Shiloh was 3 years old. Shiloh at the time of filming is only was only 15 months. I don't know where I got 3 years old from, but Shiloh is the baby. She's 15 months, or she was at that time. And then Shamia has her oldest daughter, who is 5 years old. Her name is Shia. So anyway, she was just basically you know, taking us back and telling us, you know, how rough it was, you know, going through what she was going through with Shia back then, and it was taking her away from, Shiloh, going through what she was going through with Shiloh, and unfortunately, you know, spending nights at the hospital, constantly at the hospital, just being there for days at a time, you know, and how her oldest daughter at the time used to tell her, you know, mommy, why can't daddy go this time? I want you to stay here. I want you to go. Why can't daddy go this time? Which is a valid question. Okay, like, I know the man works, you know, at the end of the day, you know, You want these kids just as much as Shamia wants them, but I'm saying he really the one who's wanting her to grow this family. Shamia's, I can tell she's at the point where she doesn't want to do this anymore, you know? So how dare you sit there and not put as much time as I'm putting in, you know? And because clearly he wasn't. I'm not saying he was not there for his, you know, spending sleepless nights at the hospital sometimes, but obviously it wasn't as much as he should have been, because the baby girl, the oldest baby girl, told her mama, why can't he go this time? So that means her mother was the one pretty much going for the majority of the time, you know? But like I say, he still wants Shamia to grow this family. Shamia still wants to give her husband what he's, you know, asking, even though she's fully tired. She's exhausted. She said she done had 7 IVF treatments. It raised her estrogen levels. It's put her at higher risk for blood clots, which is true, and basically just putting her whole overall health at you know, at risk. Like she can, you know, lose her life trying out all these things. And then she's, you know, had an ectopic pregnancy, you know, she talked about that in the first episode or whatever. But at the end of the day, then she's still in talks with the surrogate, we found out yesterday, I mean on Sunday. And it's just like she's just tired. You could just tell, and she's emotional, because she's just like, you know, like pretty much, I really don't have no more to give, you know. And I think she should stop. I think, and I hope she stopped. You know, if you know, I don't know what's going on with the surrogate, the new surrogate. I don't know if she even went through with it or what. I haven't heard anything via social media, you know, as far as whether she, you know, still has a surrogate or not, or if the surrogate is pregnant currently or whatever. But her sisters had asked her a very important question, like, did you have a sit down and talk to your man? Like, you know, did you talk to him? Because Shamia was like, she did ask him, well, what if it doesn't work this time again? Well, like, what if it doesn't work? And she said, her husband was like, well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. See, that's what this is what I'm saying. Like, no, we're not going to cross the bridge when we get there. We're going to shut the shit down now, because it's just too risky. I still have 2 other babies to live for. You know, she still has Shia and Shiloh. Like, she can't keep putting herself through something that can possibly take her away from her daughters permanently, you know. And he seems to not give a F, and I think that's very selfish. Just like I said before, it's very selfish of a man who's watching his wife go through these things and seeing just how much difficulty she's having. Then you had a last surrogate, that unfortunate situation that nobody foreseen coming, you know. Like, you just, and now your youngest baby, even though she's thriving, y'all, they showed the baby Shiloh, you know, in a little pool and stuff. She's just like a normal baby. Her sister even said she's doing great. She's doing very, very well. She's just, you know, probably taking her a little bit longer to develop, but she's still on track, you know, from what I saw. She's still on track. To me, from watching that little clip, I couldn't tell that she had any medical conditions, you know. She looked like a normal 15-month-old baby, you know. So, and her sister was like, how Shiloh is such a happy baby. She's always smiling. Shamia just got a beautiful family, period. Herself is beautiful. Her baby girls, her man, everybody. I just love them. Love them. But I just don't like the fact that her husband is really still expecting her to go through with all of this, because just like with all men, you know, it's not their body. So they just feel like, we're here. This is what we do. You're a woman. This is what you were made for. And it's up to you as the woman to shut shit down. Because at the end of the day, can't nobody police our bodies but us. Can't nobody dictate our bodies but us. Can't nobody tell us when we gonna get pregnant, how we gonna get pregnant. Like, that is 100% in our control. So if I were Shamia, hopefully she done already did this, but if I were Shamia, I would have told my husband, listen, it's a wrap. Like, I'm not doing this no more, because seemingly everything which I'm trying to do on my own is not really working. It's putting me more at risk than anything else, and I'm not going to die trying to give us more babies. We got 2 beautiful girls here. I'm not going to kill myself trying to give more babies. I'm just not going to do it. And I wouldn't want to try another surrogate either, because God forbid, what if, you know, and we got to go through this all over again. I'm not doing it. It's a lot. It's a lot. And thank God she has a supportive family. I'm not going to spend too much more time on that, because it's going to piss me off. But we move on to Angela and Charles. Shall they meet up at one of their investment properties? The renovations have started in there. she starts getting on him once he pulls up, because she's like, of course you're gonna pull up now when I done lifted and did all the heavy work and ish. So, and per usual, Charles is looking at her. He always got something smart to say because he don't give a fuck. Okay, but anyway, so she brings Charles in, they talking or whatever the case. She brings up therapy, you know, trying to convince him to go to therapy. Again, per usual, Charles ain't with it. And then she brings up, you know, her wanting them to go ahead and do their vow renewal, because she was saying how back when they were newlyweds, she didn't really get to enjoy being a newlywed with her man, because I guess they had separated because something happened between he and his coach back then. Y'all know Charles is an ex-basketball player, but back then he had, you know, some issues with his coach, or his coach had issues with him. He got kicked out the arena, and from there, you know, I guess Charles just basically turned, you know, he just wasn't into it, you know, into her, into nothing. Like she says, because she couldn't heal him, she said, I guess they took a little break in between, and you know, the way I don't recall her using the words we separated, but that's what I remember her getting at. Like, they weren't, you know, together until they got back together. So she basically feels like she missed out, you know, back then being a newlywed. I asked her, she wants to renew their vows. And Charles was like, you know, no, right now is not the time. You know, we got all these investment properties, you know, we trying to get up and running and taking care of. Basically, this what all our money wrapped up into right now. We could put that on hold, you know. And I agree with him. Like, he wanted her to focus on one thing at a time. And I agree, because, like, it's just a vow renewal. I mean, yeah, it's important, it's cute or whatever, but it's not mandatory at this point when y'all got every other important things going on, like he says. So that kind of was really all with them at that moment in that scene. But then we move on to Drew going to her divorce attorney. She going to sit down and talk to her divorce attorney. Child, we found out some things about Mr. Ralph, honey, but that kind of we already know, child. Her divorce attorney was just basically briefing her on everything, and we found out how Ralph got down there in the basement, child, because apparently he told the judge that he couldn't afford to move out. That's the short of it. He couldn't afford to move out. He was paying mortgage at the house there. He couldn't afford to move out and pay mortgage there and somewhere else. So the judge, I guess, decided for them that, hey, you move downstairs. Drew, you stay your ass upstairs. Leave that man alone while he down there. And which I just think is ridiculous. Like I said before in my last review, it's ridiculous. You guys are two fully grown adults. No judge should have to come and tell you none of that. If that's what you want to do, you want to move in the basement because you despise me that fucking bad that you can't stand a sight of me, you know, and you want to move downstairs, fine, go ahead, you know, cool. You know, like, why you need a judge to intervene with any of that, and then intervene with your text messages and stuff? Because y'all just need to learn how to act, okay? Y'all got kids in that house. Like, it should have never got that deep. But apparently that's how and why Ralph is downstairs in the basement, child. And then they started to talk about, like, how they feel like Ralph, they meaning Drew and her divorce attorney, talk about how they feel like Drew is hiding documents because, come to find out, he's also the one that's holding up the divorce process. At the time of the show, she said they had been going through the divorce process since 2023, and basically it's Ralph's fault. He's holding it up because he don't want to present the proper documents. Like, basically they need to see your income, okay? The divorce attorney was like, he bringing bits and pieces, and then most of the stuff is yours, your stuff he bringing. Like, and you know, so they said they were still waiting for him to bring in his real true income or incomes, you know. And she also told Drew that there's going to be some documents that were currently sealed that were going to be becoming unsealed. And so Drew was like, well, what's in the documents, you know, which is weird because, girl, why you don't know? But I know they sealed, but still, you should know. But anyway, like, just like she sat there and told you now, she should have told you back then. Like, put me on, sis, from the beginning, okay? But anyway, she told Drew, well, you know, basically he's going to show how, you know, he's a serial cheater. He's been stalking and having you followed. And he stole money from Drew. You know, even though Drew did say that in the beginning. He stole your money, some money from her. And, you know, he's been sexting girls. And like, all of that is going to be in the sealed documents that's going to become unsealed. And so Drew got emotional because she's like, she don't want her kids to hear about that because, you know, people going to start talking. Her son is old enough to know what all is going on. The daughter probably, she's still a little girl, but, you know, I don't feel like she's on social media like grown people social media. But her son for sure is. And so she, you know, basically got a little emotional because she's just like, she would just want to be done with this. And she don't want her kids to hear all of that about their dad. Even though I know Ralph is not her oldest son's dad, but he's been the dad all this time. So I felt her on that, but it is what it is, girl. You would listen. Whatever y'all gotta go through to get this done and over, y'all just need to do it. You go y'all separate ways because the way y'all living now, or then, it just wasn't it. So anyway, then we see Shamia taking her little baby Shia to her doctor's appointment in the car. That was a cute little mommy and me car ride. I love that. Shia is so cute. Like, oh, I just love Shamia and her kids. I know I keep saying they're so cute, but they are. But anyway, she was taking Shia to her appointment because Shia was having her tonsils removed. And then they showed, you know, she got there and she shows her husband was there and stuff or whatever. And yeah, they didn't spend too much time on that. Shia's surgery went very well because you see later on in the show, you know, she gets to go to Kelli's event, which brings me to Portia and her mama. I'm about to skip, but no, it brings me to Portia and her mama at the spa. Or they're going to get foot massages, and Portia steady telling her mother, you know, steady talking about Simon and, you know, throwing dirt on Simon. Her mother feeding right into her bullshit. And so then they go on to talk about Shamia. Portia tells her mother what Shamia had came and told her about Kelli in the beginning, and her mother just kind of got that like upset, like, girl, just trying to play Shamia. I ain't like that. Like, her mother was making it seem like Shamia was being shady to Portia. She was like, well, why would she tell you that? Why would she come back and tell you what somebody said? And she know you was going through a divorce. Why would she come and tell you something like that at a time like that? I was like, girl, first of all, it is never that deep. Shamia was doing what a best friend should have did. Like, girl, like, don't do not too much. She's like, I know you and Shamia have been friends since y'all were in high school, you know, but I don't know. Why would she do that? Like, girl, what kind of best friends you got? Because I'm about to say, like, if any of my best friends link up with somebody that I don't even know yet, and this person is sitting there having questions about me or haven't said something about me, I need to be put on before we go sit out together. Okay, I'm about to walk into this lady house at your, walk into your house at your party and see this girl, and then I don't even know her, and she already got something to say about me. So yes, Shamia did the right thing. That's what a best friend does. I don't know what kind of friend Miss Diane is, but whatever, child. Portia basically, you know, she kind of low-key stood up for Shamia a little bit. She could have did a little bit more, but she kind of low-key stood up for Shamia or whatever. But I just was like, Miss Diane, cut it out. Fast forward, we get to Kelli's event, which turned out so nice. So very nice. Like, the event planner did her big one, decorating that, or, you know, putting on this event, period. Everybody looked amazing. Okay, all the girls came with their little baby girls. They looked so pretty, y'all. I just loved it. Everybody understood the assignment. Every single one of them. So all the girls start coming in or whatever the case, and you know, we find out that Kelli was one of the reasons she was putting on this event, or maybe the main reason she was putting on this event, is because 3 of her daughters were born with a condition. I'm just going to say the brittle bone disease, because she did say the actual medical term for it, but I don't remember, and I don't want to sit here and screw it up. So, but she said 10% of the proceeds was going to be going towards their charity. And she basically, you know, got up and told everybody, you know, her story about how she found out that her 12-year-old daughter, because she has a 17-year-old who was not born with that, but her 12-year-old daughter and her 2 twin daughters, they all 3 have brittle bone. So obviously the 12-year-old came first, and she was just saying how when she was a baby, I believe they were out in Boston, and, you know, something happened, but nothing happened to where the baby's bone, like baby hurt herself, kind of happened. But she noticed that her daughter's arm, you know, was basically broken, you know. So she got her to the hospital, and in the hospital basically, you know, thought she did something to her daughter. So she got emotional telling that story. I really felt bad too, because I couldn't imagine as a mother. She said that they were held hostage pretty much in Boston, not literally, but they were held hostage in Boston because she couldn't leave, and she wasn't leaving without her daughter. So she said when she got her daughter to the hospital, one of the doctors looked right at her, looked in her eyes, and he noticed that she had, like, I guess around her eyelids was like a bluish, grayish, you know, tint or whatever, and he knew exactly what it was, and he told her, I'm going to use the other term, which is brittle bone. So he knew it right off the bat what it was, which was a blessing too, because she, you know, didn't abuse her daughter, you know, and thank God that doctor knew something, because who knows how, you know, that with the outcome, she probably wouldn't have been able to leave with her baby for, you know, they would have took her child, you know. So it was just, that part was sad, you know, and that just made me like Kelli even more, to be honest. Like, it really, really did. I just love Kelli's spirit. I love her spirit. You know, she's just like a fun, cute little, you know, loudmouth girl, but she's about her business. She's a mama, you know, she got 4 daughters, child. God bless her, honey. But, you know, she just looks like a real fun girl, and always gonna tell it like it is. I.e. me. Okay, maybe that's why I like her so much, because I feel I'm the same way. But yeah, I like Kelli a lot. I like the event, and of course, it wouldn't be true Real Housewife fashion, child, if somebody didn't go in there and start to show their natural black asses. Okay, I'm gonna say black in this case, even though they do this in all the Housewife franchises, but we talking about this one today. Okay, and you know, Angela fiending to get at Shamia. Like, why did you feel this was the time or place to basically have a repeat of what happened at the gym? And that's another thing. When they was in the studio, Angela, Drew, and was in the studio, I ain't like how Angela pretty much lied and said Shamia turned up on her for the most part, and that stormed out the gym when she asked her about, you know, why did she choose to ask Drew about Dennis in front of everybody. Shamia asked Drew, well, according to Angela, Shamia asked Drew, are you and Dennis fucking? Shamia did not say that. Okay, and like I said, Angela lied and said that Shamia got all excited about it when they was in the gym and she confronted her about it. She just basically lied, because I don't know what, unless it was edited out, but I didn't see Shamia getting loud and the way she was making it seem like, and Shamia stormed out the gym and all that. I ain't see that. Okay, Shamia just told her, you getting a little, you know, you getting a little hot. You getting a little hot, you know, but Shamia wasn't, you know, she just wasn't doing all that, in my opinion. But anyway, I didn't like that Angela pretty much, in my opinion, lied on Shamia, because it definitely didn't go down like that. But anyway, like I said, Angela was fiending to go at Shamia at this party, child, and Shamia did the right thing. She dismissed her. Okay, because absolutely not. My babies is here. Everybody else babies is here. Even though they did have a few words back and forth, Shamia, you know, made fun of her nose and stuff. Girl, Shamia, and when she did the impression, I like to cry. I'm like, girl, like, leave that lady nose alone. Shamia's a whole fool for that. But anyway, Kenya came over, everybody came over. They was like, absolutely not. Especially Kelli. She came, she was like, this is not that. This is not Lennox. Okay, we over here at Phipps. Y'all ain't gonna be doing that at my event over here. Okay, and I agree. Like, come on. Like, nobody should have had to get up and tell y'all, hey guys, because I believe Kenya was one of the ones that was like, hey guys, the kids are here. We have our kids here. Like, nobody should have to tell y'all that. And again, Shamia, to me, was minding her business, even though her Portia was over there making fun of the lady. But she ain't know that. You know, she just kept trying to inch her way until she finally got over there to Shamia. And Shamia, like I said, did the right thing. Not here, not now, baby. I ain't got nothing for you right now. Goodbye. Okay? And then here's Drew. Here's Drew trying to do the same thing. She felt that this was her opportunity to talk to Portia. Talking about, I heard you wanted to talk. Portia was like, nah. I don't feel well. Nah. And Portia was like, I was wondering where all this energy was coming from her. She's like, then I turned around and saw her sister. That's her battery back there. She's like, we're not about to have this conversation. They wasn't about to jump me or double team me. Something like that, Portia said. She was joking, though. But I just was like, Drew. She left Drew standing there looking real stupid, y'all, in the face. Like, Drew just stood there looking dumb. Because, again, Portia dismissed her ass, too, as she should have in that moment. Because this is not the time to place. We are not about to talk about this here, okay? Baby, if I answer my phone for you or answer your text messages, we could set up another time and a place and we could try again. But nah, we're not doing this here. So anyway, y'all, that's where it left off at, you know, at the event or whatever. Everybody seemed to have calmed down and stuff. So, next episode, you know, I don't know, for the little bits and pieces that they show, it shows that Kenya's going to be having an event. You know, they all going to be together again. You know, I'm pretty sure all the same ish going to start being talked about again. But I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be watching, and I'm going to come back and let y'all know what I got to say about that episode too, y'all. But in the meantime and in between time, I thank you so much for watching tonight and sticking with me. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and go ahead and have your comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace out.